So it's good, like, to know about yourself. So everyone basically having the good experience in the procurement side, even though like you have the basically skill in the consultant side or business side, both are basically fine. And generally, why why I asked you about this like Ariba tool experience and the ERP tool experience, because many of the Ariba consultant, as per my like experience, what I seen that. So generally the Ariba consultant, they are basically struggling into area. So you can easily learn this, like you can easily get it. Ariba strategic sourcing solution or P2P tool, you can easily take it. But mainly we are basically struggling in two area. One is basically about the CIG integration. So I seen that like much of the many of the Ariba consultant, they have the weak point in the CIG tool, and second basically they are struggling with the ERP side as well. Okay, so even if you see like in that live scenario, so many of the companies, like I would say out of 100, if you see around 90 or 95 customer 95% customer, they are basically using the Ariba tool on top of the SAP ERP solutions as well. Okay, so as you know, SAP ERP solutions are doing very well in the market, and out of 10 basically you will find out like 6 to 7 customers who are using basically SAP ERP system. So whenever you will talk about like that like integration part, so definitely we have to basically we should know the concept of Ariba side, we should know ERP side, and as well as we should know about the CIG side as well. Okay, so now basically in today's session, like in this training, we are going to talk about Ariba CIG part, how basically like we can work with the CIG, and how basically we can implement the CIG as well. Whatever different kind of setup that basically we have to do from ERP perspective, or whatever setup we have to do from CIG perspective, or whatever different setup we needed on the like Ariba network, that's something not needed in these cases, because in case of commerce automation that something is needed. But we'll talk about the CIG perspective and CIG tool perspective, and we'll talk about the ERP perspective as well. Okay, so let me just quickly first go through this like overall topic, overall like point what basically we are going to discuss here. So what we'll do, generally if you like go in the SAP ERP system. So in the SAP ERP system, like whenever we have to basically do any kind of setup of the integration, I'm just showing you at high level now. We will talk in detail level. So here basically we have to do some certain setup from that like CIG perspective. So whatever the different configuration that we needed to perform in the ERP side, that basically we can do in the ERP system under this like integration with other SAP component. So whatever different options basically you can see as part of the cloud integration gateway. So we will talk about all this particular configuration here, different setup we will discuss here. And not only this, even apart from that, we have to do some setup on the CIG like portal as well, that we can say CIG tool. That's something also we will discuss. So mainly we will talk from the implementation perspective. Like let's say for example, your customer, they are basically going to implement any Ariba solutions, any of the Ariba solutions. Might be you can say Ariba strategic sourcing, or Ariba P2P solutions, or you can say Ariba commerce automation, or Ariba supply chain collaboration. So in that case, how basically we have to enable the CIG, and whatever different kind of setup we have to do, that's something we will discuss. And apart from that, we will also discuss about like some support activity that is called as a error handling, right? So let's say for example, your customer, they are basically already using like Ariba solutions, might be in case of Anup. So he may getting some like different kind of incident from the customer, like they have done some like transactional activity in the Ariba side, or might be in the ERP side, and that particular transactional document should get reflect in that like Ariba side or ERP side, or might be from supplier side, they are not getting the document. Then how basically we can handle that kind of error, how we can debug that basically that kind of issue. So those things also we are basically going to discuss here. Okay, but before that, once again, so I would like to know your thought as well. So do you want to communicate anything like from your side? Do you want to add any like any point here? Anyone like Ankush, Anup, Najir, before going to start this session? On top of
Uh,
my comment, do you want to add something here?
Rohit, can you brief as the content of this training sessions, all the sessions or the course that you're trying to help us with?
Okay.
Will you be able to help me with the
Okay.
content? What are
Sure.
the content that you are going to teach us?
Yes, that I will do. Just give me some time. I will do it.
Sure, sure. Thank you.
All right. Anything from your side, Ankush, Najir?
Um, no, I think Rohit, we are on track. I mean, no harm. We are absolutely on track. So
Mhm.
primarily, I'm looking forward from the, exactly like a novice that how this integration is happening. What are all the changes I have to do in the CIG implementation? Also, you have to coordinate with the basis team. So what kind of activities we have to guide them in terms of the implementation of the
Mhm.
CIG tool, and then probably the configuration part. And then later on, I'll come to you for the this. PO collaborations and other thing, but that
Commerce
is something
automation.
like commerce automation part. Yes, but right now,
Sure,
I
sure.
need to guide the person, Rohit, take the complete ownership of this CIG in terms of guiding the basis person. May not be performing at all, not performing, but at least guiding them and getting the work done and then configuring the stuff.
Yeah, that I will do, sure. You will understand. You will get the your questions like in some time. Sure, I will do
Great,
it.
thank you, Rohit, thank you.
Okay. Najir, something you want to add here, or you're good?
Just one, small query, Rohit. Like as far as my
Mhm.
knowledge, this SAP Ariba can be integrated with the other ERP systems as well, right? So
Yes,
in this
yes, yes.
particular training, so you are going to show us only through SAP MM to SAP Ariba, or else like how it's gonna be.
No, no. We will only talk about like that basically the ERP perspective. That means we'll talk about only SAP ERP. See,
Mhm.
basically Ariba tool is very strong from integration point of view. It's very very strong. Okay,
Yes.
but thing is that so you can say basically from the backend point of view you will have basically two different kind of like system. One will be your ERP system, second will be non-ERP system. So ERP means this SAP S/4HANA or SAP ECC you can say, and from non-ERP system you can say basically Oracle, Maximum, PeopleSoft, or whatever system
Then
name you
that's
are aware.
okay.
You can take any name. Yes, right.
Okay.
So we can have the integration with Ariba. Ariba has given this option to the customer. But in most of the cases, you will see like SAP ERP integration. I'm not saying you will not get that non-ERP system scope, that also you will get. But for that, basically, Ariba has given the clear-cut information to the customer. If you have the SAP ERP in the backend, in that case, you will have only one option, that is basically CIG, Cloud Integration Gateway. Don't think
Okay.
any like that basically like a point on top of that. You have to only go with the CIG. And otherwise, in case if you have the non-SAP system, non-ERP system, like whatever you said or I said, right? In that case, you
Hmm.
don't have any other choice. You can go with the ITK. That is the only one option. So
Yeah.
this
Okay.
training is only intended to the CIG, not for this ITK. That means we will not talk about non-ERP system here.
So by any chance, we can get trained on ITK as well. I mean, like not in depth,
ITK
but
basically,
basic.
no, no. Basically, the thing is that I can give you some theory idea because I don't have the ITK system, for now. Even I work in this ITK very long back. I think 4 to 5 years back only. Okay. So
Okay.
if you need, I can only provide some study material for the ITK, but might be I may not able to give you more deep dive information in the ITK, because in most of the cases, since we are from SAP ERP background, so in most of the cases, my good chance is that I'm getting only CIG. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Got it. Okay. Okay, so let's start now. So basically, what is the CIG? First, basically, we have to understand what is the CIG. So just to understand the CIG first, what basically we have to understand, we have to basically first understand about our system landscape. So whatever basically the landscape you are going to use, right? So we have to first understand about our system landscape, and then basically we have to understand what is the CIG. So generally, if you see from the landscape point of view, so you will have basically the three different kind of landscape. So let me draw it, then I'll come to you. So in most of the cases, what basically you will see like in one side, you will have the SAP ERP system. This is something just basic of the integration I'm saying here, and you will have the any Ariba tool. I'm using the Ariba tool tool world here, because you can use basically Ariba P2P or Ariba SLP sourcing or contract, and in some cases you may have the Ariba network as well. That is why, just in summary, I'm using Ariba tool here. So what is happening whenever we are basically getting a chance to work on the any implementation project, any Ariba implementation project. So in that case is like, if you see, like let's assume your customer, they have the SAP ERP system. So they are basically using SAP ERP system from very long time, might be from 5 years or 10 years, something that. And they are basically, they are performing all the transactional activity or all the business activity in the SAP ERP solutions here, right? Now let's say that your customer, they basically came to know about the Ariba tool, so they thought, why not we can go with the Ariba solutions, because Ariba solutions is basically providing digital platform to us, and where basically we can perform our procurement activity digitally, right? So for that need, your customer, they are basically going to implement the Ariba. Now whatever the module they have selected to implement, like it could be your SCC, that is supply chain collaboration, or commerce automation, or you can say Ariba SLP sourcing, contract, P2P, whatever, right? So they have basically decided to implement that particular solutions as part of the Ariba here. But in that case, what basically they are expecting here, so they are basically expecting to have the integration. And why they are expecting to have the integration? To sync the data from SAP ERP to Ariba, or you can say from Ariba to SAP ERP as well. Why they want to sync the data? Because they are using SAP ERP system from very long time. So they have all that like setup in the SAP ERP system. And going forward, let's assume they are basically going to implement Ariba SLP module. Just for the example I'm saying. So that means, why basically they are implementing, they will maintain all the supply record. Going forward, they will maintain all the supply record in the Ariba solution itself. I mean in the Ariba SLP solution. So from data point of view, if you say, like let's assume we have implemented, we have done the implementation, right? Now we have the customer have the Ariba SLP module, and they have the SAP ERP system as well. Now they have not done any kind of integration. So right now what is happening, like whenever you will create any supply record in the Ariba side, you will able to see the information, supply information in the Ariba side, right? But you will not be able to find out any historical information here. That means, let's assume you have the access of the Ariba side, you can see you have only one supply information here. But if you see in the ERP side, you already have the 1000 supply record. So in that case, if you see, both the system, both the information are not in sync. So we are in different like umbrella in the ERP side, and we are in the different bucket in the Ariba tool side. So just to synchronize the data, what is your customer expecting? Customer is basically expecting to have the integration. That means to link this both the system. That is called as the integration, right? And why basically we need the integration? Just to share the information from Ariba to ERP or ERP to Ariba. Now this is the customer requirement. But how we can do that? So how basically we can do that? So whenever we have to perform any kind of integration within this SAP ERP to Ariba, we have to basically like implement one tool in between of this Ariba and the SAP ERP, that is basically called as a CIG. So we can say we have the cloud integration gateway tool here, right? So once basically we'll implement the CIG here, so basically this is called as a direct connectivity. So we are basically implementing CIG directly in between of this Ariba and the SAP ERP tool. Okay, so what CIG will do here, CIG will basically create the linkage between SAP ERP and the Ariba tool. So earlier, what was happening? Earlier, basically, whenever basically we were creating any transactions, just for example, I'm saying we were creating any transactions, that transactions was directly flowing from SAP ERP to Ariba or from Ariba to ERP. But once you implement this like CIG, so what will happen whenever you will communicate any information from Ariba to ERP or from ERP to Ariba? So what will happen? The information will first come to CIG portal, right? And from CIG portal, it will basically communicate to this Ariba side. So whatever the Ariba solutions you have, it will communicate like to the Ariba side here. So in this way, if you see, the CIG is basically acting as a middleware. So it is a kind of postmaster here, right? So the job of the CIG is that like to receive the information either from ERP or from Ariba, and to deliver the information to that like ERP or Ariba. So this is basically acting as a middleware. Okay. So whenever we have to basically implement the CIG, so we have to perform some certain things. We'll talk about in detail level. If we talk about from the system perspective, sorry, setup perspective, or whatever different setup basically we have to do for the CIG implementation. So we have to basically perform some certain configuration. Let me show you here. To implement the CIG. So in this slide, if you see here, so this slide basically is talking about high level setup. We'll talk in detail level, but just as part of the course content, I'm just showing this one because I thought to type in that like notepad, but it will be kind of duplicate activity. So here basically, if you see, these are the different activity we had to basically perform to implement the CIG part. And if you see here, so we have to basically perform, like we have to download and install the add-on in the first activity. Then basically we have to enable the Ariba CIG tool as well. So of course CIG tool is a separate tool, and when as part of the like integration we have to basically enable the CIG tool. Then we have to basically work on the cloud connector. So like a cloud connector basically is a kind of connectors that is basically we are using to integrate our on-premise solutions to the cloud solution. So basically we have to do, and then basically we have to perform some certain global settings as well. So this is something ERP configuration, like whatever different ERP setup we have to do, that's something we have to perform, right? And apart from that we have to basically do some other setup to send the SAP information to CIG. That's something also we'll talk here. And we will talk about like some setup of this integration project. So this activity is a very important activity that we have to do on the CIG portal. So we'll talk about like this integration project creation as well, like how basically we have to create the integration project. Middleware basically is not applicable, that we have to skip. And then we'll talk about some general settings configuration as well. So whenever we have to integrate like some master data from the SAP ERP to Ariba, not only master data, even if you want to integrate any transition data from ERP to Ariba, in that case also we have to perform some general settings. We'll talk about that part also. Okay. And apart from that, we'll talk about how basically we can import the master data. So generally, if you talk from master data point of view, so let's assume your customer, they have this upstream or downstream any of the particular solution. And if you have the SAP ERP system, so in that case, that like source of master data will be the SAP ERP system. So how basically we can integrate the master data from SAP ERP system, and how we can push the particular master data from SAP ERP to Ariba. That's something also we'll talk here. Apart from that, we'll talk about some transactions configuration as well. That is basically like in case if you want to flow any particular transactions from SAP ERP to Ariba solutions as well. That's some for that basically it is applicable. We'll talk about that part. We'll talk about some like mapping as well. Mapping, custom mapping basically is a very important. So what is happening? For example, if you see as part of the basically integration, like let's assume you have basically created one purchase order in the Ariba P2P solution, right? And you are basically expecting that purchase order should reflect in the SAP ERP system as well. But if you see from database point of view, so in Ariba system, we have the different database and we have the different field as well. And the same way, if you see in the SAP ERP system, so in SAP ERP system as well, we have the different database and we have basically a different field as well, right? So in normal way, like when you will send the purchase order information from Ariba to SAP ERP system, definitely ERP system will not be able to understand. Why? Because we both having the different database. So for that, what basically we have to do, we have to do some mapping. But in case of the ERP integration, Ariba has given the standard mapping in place. But in some certain cases, if standard mapping is not going to meet your requirement, because sometimes it happen. So in that cases, we have to perform some custom mapping on the CIG tool. So how basically we can do some mapping, that's something also we will discuss here. So apart from that, we will talk about like how basically we can like see the particular our like particular transactions or particular project information, and how basically we can be ready for the deployment activity as well. So overall, just to make it simple, I'm basically trying to explain you whatever topic I'm going to discuss here in this training. So I will basically talk about the ERP setup, and in the ERP setup, we'll discuss about global configuration. That means basically whatever different like technical setup we have to do. So we'll not talk about the technical configuration in depth. We'll discuss only at the high level because those activities should be done by the SAP basis team. So basis team or basis consultant, they are the part of the ERP side, and they have to perform this configuration. But as a Ariba consultant, we have to provide the guidance to them, like this thing they have to do, and we also have to verify those configuration. In some cases, if they missed it, so we have to talk to them, like please redo this particular configuration as well in the ERP side. Okay, so we'll talk about global configuration. Then apart from that, we'll talk about master data integration. And in the master data integration, we have the different setup. So we'll talk about like for example, we have to do some setup of the parameters. We have to do set up some like a filter as well, right? That means we have to maintain some table entries. That's something we'll discuss. And we have to basically execute one particular master data program to send that master data information from ERP to Ariba. That's something also we will discuss here. Okay. And apart from that, we will talk about like a transactional data integration as well. How basically we can integrate our transactional data from SAP ERP to Ariba. That's something also we will discuss. So this will basically all this configuration will talk as part of the ERP setup, and then we'll move to CIG portal setup. And here we will talk about creation of integration project. So basically, this is a very important activity that we have to do, and here we have to perform some certain step, like how basically we have to add the different system ID, right? Like whatever the ERP system we have to basically integrate to Ariba, how we can add the system ID, how basically we can add the different kind of documents, how we can provide some lookup table information. So all those stuff we'll discuss here. Then apart from that, the most important thing we'll talk about transaction tracker. This is basically Bible for us. So we can perform all the error handling from CIG perspective in the transaction tracker. So we'll talk about transaction tracker, like how basically we can view the information, how we can check the document status. In some cases, if the document is basically failed due to any error, how basically we can find out the error information, and then basically how we can see some payload as well. So that's something also we'll discuss in the transaction tracker here. Okay. And in the last, apart from that, we'll talk about like custom mapping. So how basically we can perform the custom mapping. And one more thing I'll show you here, that is about custom routing. So this thing basically I will show you. So custom routing basically generally we are using for the payment activity, this custom routing. So custom routing means when basically we'll perform the payment activity. So as you are aware, I'm not sure, Ariba basically is not offering any payment solutions. So whenever like if the customer, so generally the customer they are basically doing the payment activity in the SAP ERP system, or in other cases if customer they don't have the ERP system, they can basically use the different option that is called as a pay me now, right? So with the help of that they can basically perform the payment activity. So in that case we have to do some certain custom routing. How basically we can do the custom routing, that's something also we will discuss here. So this is basically overall like course curriculum, like at high level we are going to talk. CIG basically is not the very big topic, so it's a completely 1 week program. You can say max to max 8 to 10 hour will be enough to complete the CIG topic. So from the length wise or duration wise, if you see, this is very small topic, but if you see technically, this is very good and very interesting topic as well that actually we should know. Okay, Anup, you got your questions or you have any questions still?
No, no, Rohit. No, I'm clear about this. No, thank you.
Any comment from anyone? Ankush Najir?
Rohit, I'm fine.
Because in the next I'm going to start this like implementation topic. So actually this is not a kind of demo session, but you can say this is the basic session we are doing here, and I'm going to start like regular topic by now itself. So if you would like to add anything, you can add.
No, Rohit, we are good. We can proceed.
Okay.
Rohit, I have one question. So, in
Mhm.
the prospective like creation of templates, downloading templates. So, will there be any program to create or download the templates, or we should only utilize the predefined templates to install in the system?
No, template means you're talking about Ariba solutions here,
Yes.
right? So basically, this is the CIG topic, Anup. I'm sorry.
No,
If
no.
you have
I'm just
basically, we
asking
have the
in yes.
okay. Then please repeat your question once again.
So what I'm saying is like, see, I've seen many consultants who are working for CIG and as a functional consultant also. So a CIG
Mhm.
consultant will do CIG part and also the template creation and downloading the templates also for sourcing, contracting, and SLP modules, supplier risk modules also, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Right now, these days, every interview, they were asking about the technical skills for CIG, not for the functional supporting roles or functional roles, right?
Right.
So a CIG consultant should be able to should be capable of downloading the template, sourcing template, SLP template, or contracting templates also into the system.
Okay.
So will you be
Let
able
me
to teach
basically
or guide?
let me just clarify one thing here, Anup, just for your information purpose. So basically, what you said that is correct. That is correct. But actually, what is happening if you see from Ariba consultant point of view, so you will get basically two different kind of Ariba consultant. One is the technical, and second is the functional. Okay.
Okay,
So technical consultant who are like who what you said like CIG technical consultant. CIG technical consultant we are saying to the basis consultant as well. So who is basically having the the technical knowledge from basis point of view, that means about system knowledge and about some the thing on the CIG side as well. So they are basically treating as a CIG technical consultant. And if
okay,
second basically is the Ariba functional consultant. So the Ariba functional consultant job is that they have to take care the entire setup of the Ariba side. So whatever you said about creation of the template, importing the template, exporting the template, approval workflow configuration, site manager configuration, all those things basically the Ariba functional consultant will take care. Apart from
okay,
that, when you come to the CIG part, so basically in the CIG part, whatever config that we discussed here, we'll talk, we'll deep dive in some time. So whatever the config we discussed here, all the config we will not be working on the CIG part. Some of the config, for example, installing the add-on, cloud connector setup, right, global setting setup, this configuration should be done by the technical consultant. That means your CIG technical consultant. Okay. And as the Ariba functional consultant, we have to take care of the CIG part as well. So whatever different functional setup we have to do here, like some setup we have to do in the global settings, and sending the SAP information, creation and set up the integration project, setup of general settings, all those things basically we have to do as a Ariba consultant. So in this way, we can say this is the function consultant, and other way, like we can say a technical consultant. Getting it?
okay, okay. The reason why I'm
So
asking is like,
what
see,
you
I've
say?
attended
Mhm,
couple of interviews.
mhm,
So
mhm.
no one had asked me about template creation, downloading template, setting up all these functional activities, but they were asking about data program. So what are the integration that we do while setting
Yes,
up the system?
that is our
So
job.
yes, yes, that is the reason I'm keen in learning CIG part.
Yes, but that is the functional job, not the technical consultant job. That is our job. So the same
Okay,
thing we discussed earlier, like in the ERP side here, I shown you like we have to do some master data integration here, right? This is our job. That basically we have to perform. So let me just refrain on this side because I'm also the part of interview panel. So whenever basically we are taking any Ariba consultant interview, so we are not asking the basic thing like how to create sourcing project, how to create supplier, how to create contract, how to create POPR. We're not asking, and even if you talk about the integration perspective, so what we are basically asking, we are checking your technical capabilities. Are you good with the CIG part? So we'll ask you how basically we can add the system ID, how we can perform some custom routing, and then we'll ask you whatever different kind of setup that you did in the CIG side, I mean in the ERP side. Please can you please tell me what program we have to use for the master data, how to maintain the filters, whatever different kind of different kind of parameter we have to maintain. This kind of questions you will get in the interview. Am I correct, or you want to add something here?
No, that's it, right? That's it. What I want to learn here.
Okay. And if possible, if you remember, can you please run some more questions like you got in interview from integration point of view? So it will give you more idea.
Yeah. So basically, they ask for us what are the issues that we are facing while setting up the system or integrating a system. What are the parameters
Mm-hmm.
that we need to look after for implementing downstream? What is the master data and how we are configuring that master data? Because see, there will be some accounting information or user information or
Right.
roles and
Right.
responsibilities, roles information, groups information in the ERP. So how we are integrating it every time. So are we running a batch job there? So how we are implementing those things? They were asking the questions regarding
Got it.
that.
Okay. These are our job. These are the basic questions they ask you. Even I will not say they deep dive in the integration part. These are the basic questions they ask you. Yes. So these are basically our job. We have to take care.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So I think we are good now here. So let's begin the session now once again. So basically what is happening, let me just rewind that like some previous statement once again, just to so that you can easily correlate it. So what is happening whenever basically we are going to work on the any implementation part. So in that case, what basically we are doing like, so in that case basically, just 1 second. Okay, so whenever basically we are working on the any implementation project, so we have to basically act as a Ariba consultant, and we will be responsible to take care of this Ariba setup. So whatever different setup we have to do, that's something we have to take care. Apart from that, we also have to take care the CIG tool as well. That means the integration setup as well. So don't assume like whenever we are doing the integration, so the entire integration setup is our responsibility. It's not like that. This is not the true statement. We have to basically work as a team. So what is happening whenever we are working on the any Ariba implementation project? So depending on the scope, we have to basically form our team. So let's say, for example, your customer is going to implement Ariba P2P solution, right? So in that case, one person basically you needed as that like Ariba side. That means you have to act as Ariba consultant. Then basically if you have the integration in the scope, then basically you needed one basis consultant. You may needed one SAP consultant. Why SAP consultant needed, I will talk in some time, or you will understand in the coming session. But consultant you may need it partially, and apart from that we needed the SAP ABAP consultant, that also we needed partially. So why basically we needed ABAP consultant? So ABAP consultant, they are basically a technical consultant from ERP perspective, and they are responsible to take care all the different kind of coding activity. Okay, so we have to perform some coding activity as well. We will discuss in coming session. Then apart from that, you may need it like that one like a team lead who can take care entire project activity. Then we needed one project manager as well. So this is one simple example about one Ariba implementation. Okay, now, so once basically the implementation will be started, so depending on the basically our roadmap, like whatever different setup we are basically going to perform, accordingly we have to start the configuration part. So once basically we are starting the implement like our like system setup, so what basically we have to do, as we discussed here, like in case if the customer they have basically the SAP ERP system, so we have to basically like use the CIG part, CIG tool. That is true. But before going to commit anything with the customer, we have to basically investigate our customer landscape. So whatever different landscape like customer they have, so we have to first investigate the customer landscape. Why? Because if you see from the CIG perspective, so CIG is also having some limitations. CIG is also having some support metrics, right? And what are the limitations we have, that we'll discuss in some time. So based on the landscape, based on the support matrix, we have to first like perform the customer system architectural review. This activity we must have to perform during starting any configuration or any setup activity for the integration. So whenever basically so what we are doing as part of this, so we have to basically set up one meetings with the customer. including this Ariba customer support as well. Let me tell you one more thing, might be if you're not aware, or it might be you're already aware as well. So whenever we are working on the any Ariba implementation project, so Ariba implementation project always happening within three entities. So within three entity means within three company. And what are basically these, what are the three companies? So one company will be your customer who is going to purchase the Ariba license. That is first entity. Second entity will be the implementation partner team. Implementation partner team means you can take any IT company name like Accenture, Deloitte, Wipro, IBM, any company you can take, any IT company. So they are basically working as an implementation partner company. And third entity will be the Ariba company itself. So as part of this Ariba license, like Ariba company, they have made this like rule to customer, and definitely we needed like Ariba customer support. So like in each and every implementation, you will have the Ariba support engineer as well. So that means they will also work together during the Ariba implementation. Okay, and why basically we needed this Ariba support engineer help? Because during the implementation, some of the different features we have to basically enable. And as a Ariba consultant, you will not have the access of those features, right? And so if for that like setup, definitely we needed the Ariba support engineer help. So that is why in each and Ariba implementation, you will find out these three entity, that is Ariba customer support, your customer who is going to implement Ariba, and your implementation partner team. Okay, so based on basically this like roadmap, we have to basically set up one meeting, one workshop with the customer, and you will get these documents from the Ariba customer support. So Ariba customer support, that means Ariba support engineer, or you can say Ariba project manager or Ariba delivery head as well. So it will vary, like what is the designation, that will vary. So Ariba customer support, they will give you this particular document, and this document is called as a architectural review pre-readiness questionnaire. So based on basically your knowledge, might be you may see different scenarios as well. So let's assume you are basically working as a consultant, like with one of the customer, and they are going to implement the Ariba. So in that case, you are already familiar with the customer system, right? Might be you are basically new with the customer, and you are expertise in the side, that means ERP side. So what you can do, you can fill out all the information based on your understanding itself. So that's something also, this kind of scenario also you may see, right? So depending on the scenario, we have to basically connect with the customer, and then we have to run this questionnaire with the customer. And why basically we have to run this questionnaire? Because just to meet our CIG support metrics, we have to check our customer system, either customer system is ready to adopt CIG or not. So here overall, if you see, we have different kind of questionnaire. We can see ERP type. So whatever the ERP type customer they have, what is the version, and that basically ERP name that they have, whatever different basically landscape they have, like development, test, or production, right? And if they have any different ERP type, whatever they have different ERP type, do they have any middleware? Yes or no, right? If they have, so what basically, what different kind of middleware they are basically using? So like that, different kind of questionnaire we have to basically discuss with our customer, and we have to collect all the information in this document here. Okay, so this document we have to basically prepare during the CIG implementation. And once we basically find out all this information, so based on that, we have to basically check the CIG support matrix, and the CIG support matrix is this one. So if you see, this is basically your CIG support matrix. So that means whenever we are going to implement the CIG, we have to check that basically the customer landscape is going to support the CIG support matrix or not. So this support matrix basically is from functional perspective. So now as a functional, we have to basically, if you see, so if customer they have the SAP ERP system, right? So they must have to be available on the ERP 6.0. So you can see here the information is given here that the SAP ESP0 for SAP ERP 6.0. So that means from this like ERP point of view, they must have to be available on the ERP 6.0 version. And if your customer having the less version, so might be in some cases you may see your customer they may have the ERP 4.60, right? So that means that is basically lesser version. So that means in that case we will not be able to use the CIG, right? So this is something from SAP ECC point of view. But apart from that, if the customer they are having the SAP S/4HANA system, so in case of the SAP S/4HANA system, we don't have any kind of limitations. So whatever different version the customer they may have from the HANA point of view, that may basically 1511, you can say 1610 version, 1709, 1909, 2021, something like that. Sorry, 2020. So whatever different version that we have from HANA point of view, so we don't have any kind of like limitations, and we can easily use the CIG on the HANA. But from the ERP perspective, customers should be available on the ERP 6.0. So even in some cases during the Ariba implementation, you may see some of the customer who are still using like lesser version of the ERP. So if the customer they have the lesser version of the ERP system, then we have to discuss internally. We have to take the input from that Ariba support engineer as well, and then we have to basically prepare our different roadmap. Like either we have to ask customer to basically upgrade the version first from the ERP 4.6 to ERP 6.0. Otherwise, like as per the Ariba support engineer session, we have to plan the different roadmap. Okay. Now, once basically we'll complete this like prerequisite activity, that means a system architectural review. Then basically we have to start the system setup. So once again, this slide basically is talking about different system setup at the high level. So if you see here, so in this like CIG implementation, we had to basically perform around I would say 14 to 15 activity. Okay. So if you talk here, as part of the first activity, we had to basically download and install the add-on. This is a very important activity, and where basically we have to do. So you can see this particular information here, the environment column here. So the second column basically is talking about like where basically we have to perform this activity. So what basically we have to do as part of the first activity, we had to basically install, I mean, we have to download and install the add-on in the SAP ERP or SAP S/4HANA. So this is the most important activity. Why this is most important activity? Might be if you have the SAP ERP system, so we can go, you can basically log in the SAP ERP system, and you can navigate to this option integration with other SAP component, right? But when you will open this particular configuration, and if you see this configuration SAP Ariba Cloud Integration Gateway, you may not be able to find out this particular configuration node in your other system. Why? Until unless you will not download and install the add-on, that particular configuration node will not be available. That is why we must have to perform this particular activity. But who will do this activity? So as a Ariba consultant, if you are like having very much good experience and you are having the technical knowledge as well, then you can perform. But generally in the normal implementation project, Ariba's basis team, they will perform this activity. Not Ariba basis team, that ERP basis consultant, they will perform this activity. Okay. And once they will complete the activity, then in the second step, we had to basically enable the Ariba Cloud Integration Gateway. That means we have to basically enable the CIG. And in the during the enabling CIG, so here as well, like we need Ariba customer support help as well. So initially the Ariba customer support, they will basically enable the CIG. And after that, we also have to perform some certain activity. We also have to enable the CIG. So in this case, we have to be basically part of this configuration tier. Then in the third step, basically we have to download and install the cloud connector. So basically cloud connector is a kind of like we can say a third party tool, and we have to use like in some cases whenever you are going to integrate any on-premise solutions with the Ariba solutions. So what is basically on-premise solutions? So you can see this is my on-premise solutions, right? Why this is on-premise? Because whenever you want to use this SAP ERP solution, you can basically you cannot use SAP ERP solution without this tool. This without this SAP GUI, you will not be able to use this Ariba solutions. Sorry, SAP ERP solution. That means we have dependency on this particular like software, right? And also whenever you want to perform any online activity, we will not be able to perform any online activity in this particular application. So this is basically called as a on-premise solution. And but if we talk about from Ariba perspective, so I'm not logged in the Ariba system, but whenever we have to basically work on the Ariba, so we can basically work with the help of the any of the browser. So with the help of the internet and browser, we can easily work on the Ariba. So overall, if you see, Ariba is a cloud solution, right? So whenever we have to integrate any cloud solutions with that like on-premise solution, we have to basically work on the cloud connector. But who will do? So this activity also done by the basis consultant. So basis consultant basically will download and install the cloud connector, and they will do the setup in your customer firewall. Okay. And after this, when you complete this activity, then we have to basically go to that like in SAP ERP system in the CIG specific configuration, and we have to do some certain setup. And this setup basically is called as a global setup, and global settings that will be done by the basis consultant as well. We have to perform one configuration in the global setting that will talk in some time, or might be in the coming session. But apart from that, whatever the other configuration that we have to do, so basically if you see here, so we have to basically perform some certain technical configuration here. Like if you go to global setting here, if you see, we have to maintain certificate, create RFC destination, create port definition, logical system, receiver port, all this activity done by the basis consultant. So these are basically the prerequisite. So initially, whenever the basis consultant, they will download and install that like add-on, then immediately they will perform all the activity. Immediately means as part of prerequisite, they will do all the setup as well. So whatever setup you can see in the global setting. So mostly all the setup that basis consultant will do, but among these, this one configuration we have to perform as a Ariba consultant, that is sending the SAP information to Ariba Cloud Integration Gateway. Okay, so we'll talk about this thing, like what setup we have to do here. So same thing is talking here itself, like global setting setup that will be done by the basis consultant. After that, in the fifth step, we have to send the SAP information to CIG. The same thing I shown you earlier, like in that here. So this setup we have to do. How to do, we'll talk. Then basically we have to go on the CIG portal. We have to create and we have to do setup of the integration project. So whatever the particular solution you are basically going to integrate. So with reference to that solution, we have to integrate different document type. So that activity we have to do on the CIG portal. How basically we have to do. This is our responsibility as a Ariba consultant. So we have to basically go on that CIG portal and we have to perform this activity here. Okay. Then seventh step basically we have to escape, and eighth step maintain general setting. This is something our responsibility as a Ariba consultant. We have to perform some setup as part of general settings, and here basically we have to do some certain setup as part of this like ERP configuration. So we have to do the setup of the interface. We have to perform some transactional configuration. That is our responsibility, and we'll talk. Okay. And after that, we have to basically import the master data. So as part of the CIG setup, like if master data integration is in scope, so we have to basically complete the master data integration setup. Then we have to send the master data from SAP ERP system that will discuss, like how we can send, and we have to run in foreground or we have to run in the background. That means as part of batch job. Then we have to configure some transactions as well. This is basically we don't have to perform the 10th step, because 10th step is only applicable for commerce automation or supply chain collaboration. So we are basically not going to talk any commerce automation and CI, sorry, commerce automation and supply chain collaboration setup here. So nothing to do here. After that, we have to set up some cross reference value. This activity also we have to do on the CIG portal. And then we have to implement some extensions and bodies. So this activity should be done by the ABAP consultant. ABAP consultant, they are the technical consultant in ERP side, and they are basically responsible to do different kind of coding. So they have to, so Ariba has basically given some list of these extensions. That means list of that implicit enhancement and customer exit, and we must have to implement those customer exit. For example, if you see in the ERP side, here you can see body to customize parameter and pre-filter value, right? So if you go to this particular configuration, so here we can see we have some config here. but actually as a like a Ariba functional consultant, we will not be able to do this activity because this requires some coding. So what basically we have to do in this case, so wherever in all this like different configuration, wherever you will find out this kind of technical setup, so we have to basically go to this documentation activity. Here you can see we have documentation symbol here, right? You can just open the documentation active information by double clicking on that option, then it will give you the step by step activity here. So we have to just copy and paste it, and we have to send it to a web consultant. He will perform this activity in the SAP ERP system. So that is why we needed the web consultant help partially, not the fully. Then we have to perform some custom XSLT. XSLT nothing is nothing, that is custom mapping as well. So if you want to perform some custom mapping on the CIG portal, we can do some custom mapping. So this activity is something, very much technical. If you are having the very good experience in that like custom mapping, you can basically perform the custom mapping like on this basically CIG tool. However, if you are basically new, so might be you will have some challenges, but yes, it's not too lengthy. You can perform some custom mapping as well. Okay. Then apart from that, we have to basically then we have to review our configuration. We have to basically perform that comprehensive testing. Comprehensive testing means we have to do the end-to-end testing. We have to run the end-to-end scenario as well, like and we have to check the test result. And if during the testing, if you find out any like issues or you encountered any discrepancy, we have to fix those issues, and then we have to rerun our testing. And if your testing is completed successfully, that means you are basically ready for the go live, and we have to basically announce for the go live. So overall, if you see, these are the different activities we have to basically perform as part of the CIG implementation. So we'll talk about all that like a functional activity, what basically we have to do as a Ariba consultant. We'll also discuss about some technical configuration, like what we discussed here, like installing the add-on, working with the cloud connector, or doing some global settings as well, like maintaining the certificate, creating the RFC. We'll talk on high level, and we will basically identify there like whatever job we have to basically, that basically give it to basis team, and whatever thing we have to perform. That's something also we will discuss. Okay. So before that, any question, comment from anyone?
Not really, Rohit. I think it's very clear.
What about this, Anup, Najir? I can see we have Mangla as well. Hi, Mangla.
Fine, Rohit.
Okay. Okay. So these are basically the different thing we have to basically take care during that implementation activity. And as we discussed earlier, the most important activity is review. So this activity is very important. One more thing, I'm not going to share any document part here because these are the real-time documents. I just kept here just to show you, so that at least you should have like real-time feeling as well, like yes, this kind of documents basically we have to use. And most important basically in your case, Ankush, definitely in commerce automation, you have to basically work with this document. This is the most important document in the commerce automation implementation. So you have to basically fill this document along with the Ariba customer support.
Okay,
Okay.
sure.
So whatever document I'm sharing here, showing here, just only for information purpose, for look and feel. But these are the project specific documents. So please do not expect I'm going to share. Just a clarification here. Okay. Okay. So I think that's it for today. Let's close this session here. And from tomorrow onwards, we are basically going to start from the first step. So we'll talk about like most of the setup basically we'll talk in the live system itself, how basically we have to do. And actually from system point of view, we have some constant means like I don't have any system like integrated system where I can show you that in process cycle. That could not be possible. All the setup I'll show you in the real-time system, like here as you can see the CRP system, we'll see here itself. Even about the CIG portal setup also I'll show you in the system. But in some certain cases, some technical setup, I will show you with the help of the screenshot. just only for understanding purpose, because ultimately those activity we are basically not going to perform. For example, install and downloading this cloud like cloud connectors or add-on, this activity basis team they will do. So for that I have some screenshot that I will run so that you can easily understand, easily correlate it. Okay, that's it from my side. Anything from anyone? Okay. Okay, so one thing I would like to discuss here. So basically, as we discussed earlier, this is not a very big topic, right? So this is something